Welcome to Simply Naturalissime. I am super excited because we are making breakfast cereal. I've got 150 grams of almond flour. I've got 2 teaspoons of cinnamon, 50 grams of sweetener. I've got a 1/4 teaspoon of xanthan gum, 1/2 teaspoon baking soda, and 1/8 of a teaspoon salt, and an egg. I've also got 60 grams of butter and a teaspoon of vanilla. I have a whisk and a handheld mixer. I start off by mixing my almond flour with cinnamon, xanthan gum, baking soda, and salt. I use my whisk to blend the mixture together. Remember not to add your sweetener at this stage. Once uniform, I set aside. I use my handheld mixer to mix my butter and vanilla together for a couple of minutes until nice and creamy. I then go ahead and add my 50 grams of sweetener and mix until the mixture becomes a light color. As you can see, that's nicely mixed. I then add an egg and continue to mix until the egg is incorporated. You do not want to overmix once you add your egg. You then want to slowly incorporate the dry mixture into your wet ingredients. So just slowly, not all together at once, just slowly does it. So that's my mixture. It's resembling a wet dough. At this stage, I get a cling film and wrap my mixture with the cling film, and I'm going to place this in the freezer for about 10 to 15 minutes. I just want it to firm up. You can keep in the fridge until you're ready to use if you want. So that's my dough out of the fridge. I cut it in half. I've got parchment paper on my worktop. I've got a wet paper towel underneath to stop it from sliding. I've got a rolling pin and another parchment paper on top so that my mixture doesn't stick onto my rolling pin. I roll until nice and thin. You want your dough to be thin. You then go ahead and cut squares using a sharp or even a blunt knife should do really. So you'll cut squares, vertical and horizontal lines, then you end up with squares. Once that's done, you're going to grab a fork and poke holes in your dough, just stop it from rising. So that's my fork. I poke holes in the dough, and I've got my oven heating up at 180 degrees. I've got an oven tray upside down. I place my dough on top. You bake in the oven for about 10 minutes. Just keep an eye on it because it can burn quickly. So that is my dough out of the oven. It resembles a thin biscuit at this stage. I cut squares, and that's my first lot. You need to stay tuned so you can see how I am going to add cinnamon sugar on my next dough. So that's my next dough out of the oven. I've got 10 grams of butter. I have got a tablespoon of sweetener and a teaspoon of cinnamon. I blend the cinnamon and the sweetener together until mixed. So that's your cinnamon sugar. I then take the butter and I rub it on top of my dough. My dough is still hot at this stage, so the butter melts quite quickly on it. Once the butter is melted, I sprinkle the cinnamon sugar on my dough. So this is cooling down as I'm doing this because it's quite thin. It cools down quite quickly. So I am then going to grab a knife and I am going to cut squares like I did with the other dough. This smells delicious. So that's my squares. I am so excited to try this cereal. So it's not a dough anymore. It's now cereal squares. This is cinnamon crunch. Yummy, yummy in my tummy. So that's the 2 lots of cereal that I have done. This was super quick to make. This is the one without the cinnamon sugar sprinkled. And it's got a nice snap to it. It's quite thin and it's perfect really. And this one is the one with the cinnamon sugar. You can see the granules on top. Still a nice snap to it. I placed my cereal in mason jars once cool. You can serve this with a low carb milk of your choice. Thank you so much for watching. This was delicious. Please like, please share, please comment and subscribe.